Welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you. Hey there. Welcome back to yet another episode of Just Start, Get Visible. It's Jacqueline here, and of course, I am your host. We are still living off the joy and excitement from episode number 271. We recorded with Torie McDonald, who is a fitness professional and also happens to be my private Pilates instructor. And to be honest with you, it has been such a joy getting to know her over the past year plus. And not only has it been a joy and so beneficial to my body and my mind to get to know her, it's also been a joy to even consider and also execute a live podcast recording with her, which happened back on episode number 271. And so if you want to ground yourself, which she says a lot, she would be so joyful about me saying, let's ground ourselves, because she says that before every time we get together to do an instruction. But if you want to ground yourself in all the other conversations that I am bringing to you and all the tips, tools, and resources I'm bringing to you throughout the rest of the month, head on back to JacquelineMBaker.com/271, because that's a grounding episode as we pull out more of the pieces and the lessons that we talked about there and make things more actionable for you. So today in episode number 273, we're talking a little bit about feeling scattered and the fact that if you're feeling scattered, it doesn't mean that you're failing. And even as I'm sitting here today, I sat down today, I made it a very intentional thing to make sure, today is Monday when I'm recording this episode, I made sure that I sat down, really thought through the week, mapped my actions to my values, just really making sure that I'm grounded this week. But honestly, some weeks come in hot and heavy and I don't get a chance to do this. I try to do it as much as possible, but it doesn't just, the cards don't land that way all the time. And so sometimes I will start my week feeling a little bit scattered, but not today, right? But it happens. Sometimes it'll happen midweek, or something will happen, like maybe you'll have a loss in your family or in your friend circle, or things just get overwhelming and you feel scattered. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're failing, which is why I want to take some time to dig into what that could look like for you to help you to restart, restructure, start over, whatever it needs to look like. Feeling scattered isn't always a sign that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes you just have too many things competing for your attention and you haven't decided what deserves your focus right now. Because even as I was planning out my week, and I usually do so with my little remarkable tablet. I love this digital thing, okay? I love physical notebooks too, but this digital tablet has just been a life changer for somebody like me who has a lot of ideas and thoughts. But there are tons of things that I have to do. But there are tons of things that deserve my attention right now. Why? Because they're the most important, because they're the most critical, because they're the things that I'm saying are the priority, because they're the things that align to my values. And so that what needs my attention right now piece is so important, because there are lots of things that you could be doing, especially if you're giving yourself permission to start and get visible. But there are things that deserve your attention right now. All right. There are ideas you want to pursue. There is work that needs your attention. There are opportunities coming your way. There are personal responsibilities that you have, right? There are things that you're excited about. And there are things that you are obligated to do. And sometimes, right, and raise your hand if this is you, it all feels important all at the same time, all right? But feeling scattered does not mean that you're failing. It may simply mean it's time for you to get clearer, much more clearer, about what deserves your attention right now. So today, I want to explore 3 things that can help us navigate those seasons without assuming that the solution is simply to work harder, right? Or somehow figure out how to do everything, because that might not be the solution. It might be, actually, how do I refocus on what really needs my attention right now? Let's first just align around a truth, a very important truth. And it's that your brain might be full because your life is full. If we're thinking, why is my brain so full? Why is my brain so busy? Why is it thinking about this and that and the third? It might be full because your life is full. And if your life is full, there's a whole bunch of stuff to think about. High achievers, people like us, people that come here and listen to the Just Start, Get Visible podcast, we often have a lot going on because we're interested in a lot of things. We're curious. We have ideas. We have possibilities. We're responsible for people and projects, right? We have commitments. We have responsibilities. And because we're capable of doing many things, we can easily convince ourselves that we should be doing all of them. We should be. But should we be doing all of them? Like, do we have limitless intellectual space, limitless knowledge? We don't. And that's where the mental overload starts. Because I want you to explore a few things, right? Being capable of doing something doesn't automatically make it a priority. And I need to say that back to myself. Being capable of doing something doesn't make it automatically a priority. And I can certainly fall prey to something like this because I'm a little doer. I like to do, I like the feeling of doing. But just because we are capable of doing something doesn't automatically mean that it should go first. It may need to go on the list, and then you make a decision on when do I need to get this done. Every new opportunity, right? Or every old opportunity, new and old, requires some level of attention. It's not just things that we say we can do, and then all of a sudden it becomes like this auto thing. It requires some level of attention, even if it's a good opportunity, right? I'm not even saying that the things that we put on the list and we deprioritize aren't necessarily good opportunities. They could be a good opportunity, but a full calendar and a full mind can make everything feel urgent. This and that and that and this. And how can I get this done? And how can I get this done? But were you really supposed to be getting it done right now in the first place? Because sometimes, right, a lot of times actually, feeling scattered is simply information that you've reached your capacity. You've reached your capacity for the things that you've put on the list that you're trying to prioritize getting done. So here's what I want you to consider in this very first section of the fact that your brain might be full because your life is full. What is it? What is it that you're carrying right now simply because you can rather than you should be? And this might take a little time for you to actually just sit down. When I say a little time, maybe 10 minutes. Sit down and look at the list, the growing list of things. And then just put a P next to like, what's the true priority? What are the true priority things that have to get done? Because what you're carrying right now might simply be because you can do it, not because you should. Even if I look at my to-do list, my running physical or digital to-do list, and even the things that I have to do in Asana, and not everything is a priority, but there are things that I want to get done, but they're not necessarily a priority. I want you to perform that exercise for yourself. The second thing I want to invite you to do is to manage your attention. Manage your attention, not everything. All right, let's dig there a little bit. We all talk a lot about time management in our personal and professional lives. But sometimes the bigger issue isn't just time management, it's attention management, our ability to actually pay attention and give the respect to things that deserve our respect, deserve our priority at the time. You can have 2 hours available. Think about the 2 hours that you might have had available or the 2 hours that you will have available. And you can still accomplish very little if your attention is being pulled in several different directions. So you can think, I got 2 hours to get this done. Oh, yeah. And you look up and you were in scroll land. Okay. You could be in scroll land. Instead of asking yourself, like, how do I get all this done? I want you to ask yourself a much different question. And that is, what deserves my attention right now? What deserves it? A lot of things could get your attention, but what truly deserves it? That's a completely different question, by the way, because it forces you in the moment to prioritize instead of simply organizing more things. I love to organize. I love to put stuff in little lists, right? In little check boxes in front of it. But am I truly prioritizing in a way that's most beneficial to what I'm trying to accomplish at Scarlett in the Just Start world and in my personal life? So I want you to explore a few things here. Everything on your list does not deserve equal attention. It might feel like it does, but it does not. All right. I want you to identify the 1 or 2 things that matter most in your current season. Okay. In your current season is an important part of that statement because yes, there are things on your list that deserve your attention, but what are the 1 or 2 things that matter the most in your current season? Not in your last season, right? In your current season. And I want you to create a simple system or simple systems, if that's what you need, that protect your attention. And those simple systems could mean a lot of different things, okay? They could mean, okay, do I need to turn off my notifications? Do I need to give myself some scroll time where I program that in, not where I allow that to prioritize over my life? Do I need to have a conversation with my family and let them know between this hour and this hour, okay, I'm going to be heads down doing something. So just give me a time, give dad a little time, give mom a little time. What are the simple systems that you can put in place to protect your attention overall? I invite you to reduce unnecessary decisions, notifications, meetings, and commitments where possible. Because this whole notion of feeling and needing and even wanting to be needed all the time for you to be ready on the drop of a dime for every single thing, it doesn't serve you well when you're trying to preserve and prioritize attention management. I also want to invite you to give yourself permission to finish one thing before jumping to the other. As somebody who likes to do this and that and that and this, and literally who owns the trademarks in multiple categories to just start, trust me, I know and love the feeling of just starting. But I also love the feeling of completion and using whatever it is that I completed to leverage the next thing so that I can complete that faster and faster and faster. The goal isn't perfect focus. The goal is just intentional focus. All right. And it allows us to really focus on number three. Number three is remembering that simplifying is not quitting. It's not quitting. For some people, it can feel that way. And let me explain myself. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to remove something. You just say, you know what, that's not a priority for me right now. And I've had to do that several times this year. Not necessarily to quit something, but to make sure that people understand the energy and time that I'm going to put into something in this season. Hey, I may have shown up fully within this organization over the past 5 years, but in this next season, this is how I am going to be able to show up. And not because I'm quitting, but because if I want to make sure that I'm somebody who is a person of her word, a person that's going to do what she says she's going to do, let me realign how I'm really able to show up in these spaces so that people aren't disappointed when I'm not able to show up in the way that I normally do, in a much less way because I have different priorities this season. So sometimes the most productive thing you can do is remove something or lessen your commitment to something. Maybe you choose to delay it, delegate it, decline it, or the opportunities, right? Or the invitation. For some of us, we don't want to give up stuff because we're like, oh my gosh, like then I won't be included in that. Well, that's because you're creating something else or your focus is somewhere else so that you can reap the benefits of that. But if you're constantly dialed into the things that you were previously dialed into, but you know that those things aren't serving you well, you're literally going to be sort of kind of half in it. And is that what you want to do? You can also just simply decide that it doesn't need to happen at all. Okay. And there are some things that I've had to say, you know what, this can't happen right now. Like it's not a good time for this. But for like ambitious, high achiever people, simplifying can feel uncomfortable because it's like, oh my gosh, like I am letting such and such down, or I'm not doing blank to the best of my ability. Well, you're not going to be doing blank to the best of your ability if you're trying to do this and this and this and this and that and this. And instead, how could you simplify? We can interpret doing less as falling behind, but think about it. If you're doing less, then you have more time to focus on what you really want to be doing anyway. Simplifying isn't shrinking. Sometimes simplifying is a strategy and sometimes a really important strategy. So ask yourself this. Is this thing that I'm doing, whatever it is, this task, this project, this responsibility, right? Is this a priority or simply a distraction that happens to look important? Maybe even feel important. Because sometimes the feeling is what keeps us stuck in the doing the same thing over and over and over again when you're like, this isn't really serving me well, right? Maybe I'm getting some type of public kudos for this, but in fact, I don't actually enjoy this, nor is it serving the next season of what it is that I want to grow into. A priority supports where you're going. A distraction competes with it. Okay? And sometimes distractions, they are good things, right? Sometimes I love to be distracted just a little bit to take the pressure off. And I did this a lot during the release of my second book called The Unexpected Leader. I definitely had deadlines and things to do. But when I felt the pressure building in several instances, I would go do something for a short period of time that I actually like to do because it lessened some of the pressure. But I time box it. Okay, you got 30 minutes to go and declutter something. You like doing that. You like the busyness of it all. And then you come back, right? Sometimes distractions are a good thing, right? I'm somebody who definitely believes that. They're just not the right things always for right now. All right. And that's an important distinction, is for you to be clear about, is this priority? Is this a priority or simply a distraction that happens to look important? Okay. Let's reflect. I wanted to make this a very lean episode that was quick and actionable. But before we close out, I want to do a quick attention audit. I want you to ask yourself, what deserves your attention right now? What are you giving attention to that doesn't deserve it? It does not deserve it. You're giving it to it. You're giving away sometimes one of your most precious commodities, which is your attention and your time, but it doesn't really deserve it. What could you simplify, delegate, delay, or completely remove right now? And maybe on your to-do list, maybe you can write that down. S for simplify, D, G for delegate, D, E for delay, or R for remove, right? And that's how you help yourself to quickly prioritize. You don't need a complicated new productivity system, right? So buying some new system, adopting some new process is not necessarily going to get you to where you need to get to. I just encourage you to simply need permission, give yourself permission, right? To make fewer things important. Everything can't be important. Feeling scattered does not mean that you're failing, friends. It doesn't automatically mean that you are undisciplined, and it certainly doesn't mean that you're not capable, right? You are not you are capable of doing it is that you just want to do, doing what it is that you want to do. Sometimes it's simply a signal that there are too many things that are competing for your attention. So instead of trying to do everything, decide what matters right now. Protect your attention. Simplify where you can, and trust yourself enough to know that everything doesn't have to happen all at once. As always, thank you for joining me for yet another episode of Just Start Get Visible. I am thrilled to continue pulling out the threads and all the great energy that we had back in episode number 271 with Torie McDonald. And I invite you to head on back and listen or watch that episode. But also make sure that you pay attention to our next episode, which is the final episode of this month, episode number 274, where we are having some really detailed discussions about deciding. For you to stop deciding what's impossible before you even begin. All right. So keep your heads out for episode number 274. Of course, it'll all be over at JacquelineMBaker.com. Listen, wherever you're at in the world, I hope that you're safe. I hope that you're healthy, and I hope that you're well. And I certainly hope that you're giving yourself permission to start the things that you want to do and get visible in a way that feels right for you. You take care of yourself, and I'll see you again soon. Ciao. Welcome to Just Start, Get Visible, your go-to resource of the journey to becoming more visible in a way that feels right for you.